it deals so much damage. Now, Gastrodon is actually pretty good against a Rockwanid, but Gastrodon can't really touch it, so it's kind of a wash either way. But if that Drampa is able to have a grass move, it can take out Gastrodon. And I expect Drampa to be in the back here for Gavin.
Well, Ashen does go with the Politoed, so did bring his Rain to the game here. Politoed sets the Rain with the Drizzle, switches in alongside the Gastrodon. Hariyama's Fake Out will connect with the Politoed while Gastrodon goes for the Toxic, but Porygon 2 avoids the Toxic. Getting that Toxic on turn 1 could have been very important for Ashen to be able to start whittling away that Porygon 2, but instead the Trick Room does go up, and Hariyama with the buff to Flame Orb and Guts will be able to boost its attack even further.
Yeah, so now it won't take as much damage as it used to in previous generations, and now it can't be Toxic. And Porygon 2 avoided the Toxic. Toxic's a big way to get rid of Porygon 2 because you can't stall out the Toxic with Recover. So now Trick Room will help Gastrodon because it is pretty slow, but if Gavin has something like Drampa in the back or even a Rockwanid to get powered up in the rain here, those are both potential switch-ins as both can come in on water moves pretty easily.
All right, well, Gavin does have a water switch, and it will be that Drampa. So Drampa out on the field does not care about Politoed or the Gastrodon. And, of course, with that Cloud9 ability, will make the effects of the weather disappear. So Gastrodon is not powered up for the Scalds here. Arcanine able to get another Intimidate off onto that Guts-boosted Hariyama. So really trying to make sure that Ashen isn't about to be taking a bunch of big, close combats from that Hariyama. Toxic will connect to Drampa, though, so Gavin will have to worry about his Drampa being slowly whittled away by that poison. While Hariyama does go for the close combat onto Arcanine, and you can see the effects of those two Intimidates. Guts-boosted Hariyama's close combat should be a lot more damage than that, but two Intimidates down, and Hariyama's not quite as powerful as it wants to be.
Yeah, so if there isn't a Rockwanid in the back now, would be a good time to bring it in, get Hariyama's attack reset, bring in a Rockwanid to threaten the Arcanine. If Drampa's got a grass move, it can take out Gastrodon. So Gavin could put himself into a really good position here. Of course, he could also bring Porygon back out just since Porygon, it's not really known for being an offensive threat, but it should be able to do enough damage to Arcanine at this stage. And it could always set up Trick Room or reverse Trick Room depending on what Gavin feels, how his Pokemon match up compared to Gastrodon speed-wise.
Yeah, very importantly, Gavin hasn't gotten that much done with the Trick Room just yet. We'll need to start dealing a little bit more damage to be prepared for once Trick Room ends, but does have the tools to do so. I mean, Drampa will deal a lot of damage to both these Pokemon. Hariyama actually just going for a feint. Wants to make sure that Gastrodon is not carrying any kind of protection, while Drampa goes for the Energy Ball. So Drampa with the Energy Ball onto Gastrodon will pick up that KO, and if Gavin brought Araquanid, that is terrible news for Ashen.
Yep, Gastrodon the big counter to a Rockwanid, but now the Rockwanid can just have its way with Ashen's team.
Yeah, interesting feint from Hariyama instead of just switching out, just trying to make sure that Gastrodon, covering all of the bases. We don't see Protect Gastrodon very much, but it was a possibility there.
Yeah, it's a way to play it safe if you're Gavin, especially in Game 1. Ashen probably doesn't know that Drampa has Energy Ball because Drampa already not really a commonly seen Pokemon, and then even Energy Ball on it isn't super common. So for Game 1, Gavin just wants to make sure he gets that off.
Yeah, Energy Ball, of course, harkening back to the days when everything had Hidden Power Grass last time Gastrodon was effective. So I feel like what I learned back then was that if you're ever worried about a Pokemon you don't know, assume it has a Grass-type attack if you're running Gastrodon.
Yeah, that's what happened last time Gastrodon got popular. I expect the same to happen in this format, and we're already starting to see it here with this Drampa teching on an Energy Ball just to one-hit KO Gastrodons.
All right, well, Magnezone is the switch-in for Ashen. Arcanine going to go ahead and protect. That Magnezone may have a decent matchup against the Drampa, which does go for the Draco Meteor into Arcanine. Hariyama's close combat onto the Magnezone, dealing a lot of damage, but again, not picking up the one-hit KO thanks to all of those Intimidates onto the Hariyama. And Special Defense has dropped a couple of times now, so this Thunderbolt from Magnezone will deal a lot of damage, and it will pick up the KO. Not very often do you see a Magnezone surviving a Guts-boosted close combat from Hariyama and then get the KO.
Yeah, that just shows how powerful Intimidate is in this format. So Arcanine really putting in work, even though it hasn't done so damage-wise yet. Just the Intimidates themselves allowed Magnezone to pick up that KO there thanks to close combat special defense drops.
Well, it looks like the Porygon 2 will be the choice for Gavin. Gets the special attack boost too, which could be pretty big. Gavin probably thinking a couple turns ahead, waiting for that Trick Room to end after this, and being able to reset it, especially if he has that Araquanid in the back.
Yeah, now's a good time to bring in the Porygon. And Drampa, it'll be interesting to see if it has Hyper Voice, because that would be able to pick up a KO on Magnezone and deal some damage to Arcanine, but we've already seen Energy Ball, Draco Meteor. I mean, there's a chance it doesn't even... You know, there's a chance it doesn't even have Hyper Voice.
Well, Magnezone is going to retreat for Politoed, so Politoed back out on the field for Ashen. Drampa going back again for the Draco Meteor onto Arcanine. That should be more than enough to pick up the KO here. Drampa gets the KO with the Draco Meteor. That old dragon still has some tricks up its sleeves. Picks up the KO onto Arcanine, takes that Intimidate off the table for future turns. Life Orb damage plus the Toxic damage will start whittling it away. But Porygon 2 gets the boosted Thunderbolt onto Politoed and does a lot of damage. And Gavin may not even need his last Pokemon.
Yeah, at the rate this is going, he probably won't. Porygon with that special attack boost is just able to do so much damage. Drampa won't really be able to do much damage anymore since it's got its special attack reduced. Toxic is slowly whittling it down, and it'll faint next turn. Trick Room is also now over, so it's going to be possibly the slowest thing on the field. But Gavin does still have one Pokemon left at full HP, and it could definitely just take out Politoed and Magnezone, and it might not even be needed. Porygon's still at full HP. The rain's not even up boosting Politoed's attacks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if Gavin could choose not to send out his final Pokemon after Drampa gets knocked out, he probably would here, just to avoid giving Ashen that extra information. Unfortunately, he probably still will, but I think you're right. Porygon 2 probably has this game locked up on its own. Politoed does go for the Encore onto the Porygon 2, so Ashen actually giving away some information there, preventing Porygon 2 from going for a Trick Room if it wanted to. Flash Cannon onto Drampa will connect and pick up the KO there, but this Porygon 2, you know, maybe it wanted to get the Trick Room up, but it doesn't really care. Magnezone faints to its own Life Orb.
We might not even have to bring in that last Pokemon.
We might not need the last one. Thunderbolt coming out from Porygon 2 onto Politoed. Is it enough? It's not. Ooh. So Ashen with the critical 8 hit points survive, so he gets to find out what Gavin had in the back.
Yeah, interesting Encore.
Ooh, Magnezone.
Interesting Encore there because Thunderbolt, I mean, Gavin doesn't have any reason to change things up, and you're revealing that you have Encore, which is pretty big information there. And if you're trying to win the match, might as well go for an Ice Beam because that's really the only out, and even that is still not an out. Like, there's probably no way to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like that Encore was just a trade to find out what was in the back.
Yeah, but it didn't even need to do that because if Porygon doesn't go for a Thunderbolt, you're going to find out what's in the back. And so, yeah, I don't know.
Encore probably not the best choice there then.
Especially because of how good Encore is against a lot of the things Gavin has. It's great against Trick Room because, you know, then if the opponent Trick Rooms and you Encore that, then they're forced to Trick Room again and revert the Trick Room. And then if Hariyama goes for a Fake Out and you're able to Encore Hariyama to be locked into Fake Out, that could also be huge. So interesting choice there from Ashen to reveal that.
All right, well, we are headed into Game 2 now. Ashen versus Gavin. Of course, Gavin did take that first game, and Ashen will need to win 2 straight in order to advance to the top 4. Of course, you know, that's a lot of pressure for a player like Ashen, who, like we mentioned, has already previously beat his previous best, while Gavin is still, you know, very much in the zone, very much comfortable with these high-pressure situations. Even at regionals.
Yeah, Gavin's been here, done that. Ashen, this is his highest placement to date. But we just saw in the previous match in the top 16 that, you know, it's certainly possible for these players to lose game 1, get enough information, adapt their play, and then take games 2 and 3. So Ashen can't let that game 1 loss get to him. Just he needs to readjust. He knows what Gavin's going for, a heavy Trick Room team, and I think he just needs to have better answers to that.
I just noticed, I'm pretty sure both of these players are wearing the exact same trainer clothes, which
I did not notice that.
I'm hopeful we'll get a shot of them in the game, but I'm pretty sure they're the same, although I am colorblind, so it could be a blue and a purple thing. But here we go, Hariyama and Porygon 2 for Gavin, and Ashen will be running the Gastron and Arcanine. It looks like their pants might be a little different.
Yeah, it's an important consideration. I made sure to dress my character before going to London.
Of course.
And of course, choosing your trainer's pose. That is also very important.
Yes, very disappointing that I haven't seen more poses from these trainers, but both of them are in again. So Gavin going with that Trick Room lead once more with the Hariyama and the Porygon 2, and Ashen sticking around with the Gastrodon and Arcanine as well.
Yeah, so that Intimidate will definitely help in dealing with the Hariyama, as we saw last game, where it was able to reduce its attacks 2 stages, and then eventually the close combats just didn't do enough damage. In fact, they were negative because they lowered Hariyama's defenses and allowed Ashen to pick up a key one-hit KO on it. We'll see if he can do the same this game.
All right, well, the fake out coming out from the Hariyama onto Gastrodon, and Flamethrower from Arcanine this time. So Arcanine just trying to get some damage off onto that Hariyama. Deals a good amount of damage. Gastrodon will flinch, but Porygon will still get that Trick Room up. Of course, the Hariyama can't have both thick, fat, and guts, so that Flamethrower did reasonable damage.
Yeah, not bad getting that chip damage in, because after another close combat, I believe that would put Hariyama into Flamethrower KO range, and if not, then the burn at the end of the turn should take it out.
Definitely.
And Hariyama is at -1 attack, so it's close combat. It won't be as weak as it was last battle, but it will be still a little nerfed. Arcanine will be able to take that. Gastrodon will be able to take that.
All right, well, Gavin does not want the Porygon 2 out, goes back for the Drampa, which we saw do so much work in Game 1, picking up just so many different KOs here. The Cloud9 getting rid of the effects of weather, although, of course, Politoed is not out just yet. Arcanine will protect itself while Gastrodon goes for the Scald onto Hariyama. Ashen deciding not to just let that Hariyama get all of the free damage that it did in Game 1, and with correct predictions, is able to deal a lot of damage to that Pokemon.
Yeah, so good turn there for Ashen, but now he has the knowledge that Drampa has Energy Ball, so he's not going to let Gastrodon get hit by this. However, Gavin, he knows Ashen knows that he's got Energy Ball. He might just double up into that Arcanine with a Draco Meteor and a close combat and just pick up the KO there on Arcanine before it can even move.
With all this focus on Hariyama, you have to wonder if Ashen is trying to set up a Magnezone sweep here in the back.
Yeah, definitely, because Hariyama was the big threat to Magnezone. Even though it didn't knock it out in one hit, it did so much damage to it. We also don't know Drampa's full moveset yet. There's a chance it has Hyper Voice, a chance it has a Fire move for that Magnezone. So it'll be interesting to see if Ashen can get more info out of this Drampa.
All right, well, Drampa does show Protect, so no extra info on attacking moves there. Scald onto Hariyama will pick up the KO, so Gavin's Hariyama will go down without doing that much this time. So really big improvement for Ashen, the Flamethrower into the Protect, and now Ashen, just by focusing down that Hariyama and not letting Gavin take control of the game.
Yeah, interesting play there from Gavin protecting the Drampa, because I'm not sure what he was worried about. Neither Gastrodon or Arcanine are really big threats to it. So whether he decided to switch out Hariyama or not, at least Drampa, I feel, should have gone for an attack, because there was nothing really to fear from either of those two Pokemon.
Yeah, it's basically a free Draco Meteor or Energy Ball onto that Gastrodon.
Right. And even if Gastrodon would have switched or protected, that means Hariyama would have gotten to attack the Arcanine.
Well, it will be Porygon 2 out for Ashen, getting the download boost, this time to its special attack. So Ashen also being able to get a little bit of extra damage out of his Porygon 2. And it will be the Magnezone in the back. So Ashen did bring that Magnezone. Both of the Magnezone out on the field. Energy Ball finally coming out from Drampa onto Porygon 2. Not going to deal that much damage and taking more back from its Life Orb. Magnezone's Volt Switch onto Ashen's Magnezone will allow Gavin to switch a new Pokemon out with the full advantage knowing that Ashen just switched both of his Pokemon out.
Yeah, so now Gavin can reevaluate bringing a Pokemon here like Porygon 2, see if he can get a special attack boost, although it can't really do much to Magnezone or Porygon unless it has Toxic for the opposing Porygon, but he does get the special attack boost, so he can slowly chip away at both of these Pokemon.
Yeah, and I don't believe that we saw the Politoed this time, but Porygon 2 on Gavin's side and Ashen both with the special attack boost will be able to start dealing some damage back. I mean, Ashen's may even be threatening the Drampa if it has too much Life Orb recoil with an Ice Beam.
Yeah, Ice Beam, especially with the special attack boost, can do a lot of damage to Drampa. We still don't know Drampa's full moveset, so if it has a Fire move, it can take out Magnezone. If not, then taking out this Magnezone is going to be really tough for Gavin.
Well, Magnezone and Porygon 2 for Ashen. Porygon 2 will switch out for Arcanine, so getting that Arcanine back out on the field. Fortunately for Gavin, he has no more physical attackers out. so it's perfectly fine taking those Intimidates. But just a little bit of extra positioning for Ashen. The Draco Meteor will connect to Arcanine. I believe this should be enough to get the one-hit knockout onto that Arcanine. So much damage. A critical hit nonetheless. Will be able to knock out that Arcanine, of course, and dropping the special attack of that Drampa.
Yeah, that's really good because Gavin's got Magnezone in the back, so taking out an Arcanine definitely helps his own Magnezone.
And that special attack boosted Porygon 2 actually dealt pretty good damage to that Magnezone, but that Light Screen is going to make sure that it does not in the future.
Yeah, Light Screen's actually really good against all of Gavin's remaining Pokemon because they're all special attackers, and they are, so far it seems like they're all having trouble being able to hit this Magnezone. Drampa now at reduced special attack. Porygon, neither Ice Beam or Thunderbolt are going to do much to Magnezone, and then Gavin's own Magnezone won't do much to Ashen, so his Magnezone's in a pretty good spot, as is this Gastrodon here. Drampa, its special attack is reduced, Light Screen is up, so perhaps this is a chance to pick up a KO on that slot and have Gastrodon be able to take an Energy Ball.
Yeah, I mean, Gavin could just try to set up Trick Room all over again. Magnezone most likely not going to be able to be knocked out by that Gastrodon and Ashen's Magnezone. I don't believe it took damage before it just Volt Switched out, correct?
Yep, I believe it just Volt Switched and went right back out.
All right, well, Ashen's going to retreat his Magnezone in favor of Porygon 2, just in case he needs to reset the Trick Room. Special attack will increase again. Gavin is going to retreat his Drampa, so Magnezone out on the field for Gavin. Full health, and of course with Gastrodon not carrying that Earth Power in this new meta, Magnezone feels much safer against that Pokemon than it ever has before, and Ice Beam for once in this tournament did not freeze the Magnezone, so Porygon 2 is able to get its Trick Room up without too many problems.
Yeah, but so far this Trick Room looks to help the Gastrodon more than anything on Gavin's side. Gastrodon will probably go for a Toxic there onto Porygon just to get that off, because Porygon, it's so tough to take down, especially with what Ashen has remaining. He's going to need to get a Toxic off onto that Porygon if he wants to have any shot at taking it down. But now that Drampa switched out and reset its special attack back to neutral, when it comes back in, Energy Ball should do a lot, but there we see the miss.
Yeah, Gavin's Porygon 2 keeps avoiding those Toxics. Ashen shows the Shadow Ball, which drops Magnezone special defense, which could be big in a longer game. Thunderbolt coming out from Gavin's Porygon 2 deals a little bit of damage. Magnezone going for the Volt Switch again onto Ashen's Porygon 2, resetting that special defense drop and bringing that Drampa back in, but without any of the problems it had before with respect to the special attack drops.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting because this should come down to a prediction, because if Porygon goes for an Ice Beam onto the Drampa with a special attack boost, I'm not sure how much that does. That might pick up the KO, but if you leave Gastrodon vulnerable, it can certainly get knocked out by Energy Ball, but I think Gavin might predict this and go for an attack onto Porygon. I'm not sure Gastrodon's full moveset. It could go for another Toxic onto Porygon, but if Magnezone comes in that slot, it's useless. I don't know if it'll have Ice Beam on to go for that Drampa slot. It'll be really interesting to see what these players decide to do.
Well, Ashen is going to retreat the Porygon 2, does not want it to take any damage. Magnezone out. Magnezone at such low health there for Ashen. Draco Meteor, though, coming out from Gavin onto the Magnezone. Magnezone is at about 50% health. This may be able to pick up the KO. It is not. Magnezone hanging on with just a little bit of health there.
That Light Screen's huge so far.
The Light Screen really doing work for Ashen's team, and Gastrodon with the Ice Beam onto Drampa, getting some good damage back, really reducing the amount of turns that Drampa has to use his attacks thanks to that Life Orb. And the Ice Beam, not enough!
Oh, that Light Screen!
Hit point.
That Light Screen, huge for Ashen. Wow, and now Gastrodon's still almost at full HP. It's in a great spot. Another Ice Beam should take out the Drampa. Light Screen's still up, so I'm not sure if Energy Ball would pick up a knockout. But, wow.
Yeah. I would be surprised. I mean, Drampa just lost its special attack from Draco Meteor plus Light Screen.
It shouldn't KO.
All right, well, Gavin needs to protect that Drampa, goes for his own Magnezone instead, which is starting to look a little bit less healthy. Ashen also retreating his Magnezone for Porygon 2. So Ashen's Porygon 2 back out on the field, getting the special attack boost again because of all of Gavin's Pokemon. And the Toxic finally connects onto Gavin's Porygon 2.
Yeah, finally gets a Toxic off. That's going to be big because now Porygon is on a timer, and if Ashen is able to have his Porygon get a recover up and return back to a little over half his HP, that could be huge and just stalling this game out.
Well, but the light screen has worn off now, and I believe we still have one more turn of Trick Room.
Yeah, and then when Drampa comes back in, its special attack will be reset. Light screen's over, so Energy Ball should definitely KO. But Ashen doesn't want to let it get to that point. He wants to try and recover his Porygon's health if he can get a chance to. And Gastrodon just get some chip damage onto the Magnezone, try and take it out a little faster.
It's going to be really, really tight here. Ashen, of course, both of his Pokemon most likely the slowest things in the game right now, but switching out his Porygon 2 for his own Magnezone instead. Just trying to get that Magnezone back on the field. Scald coming out from Gastrodon will connect with the Magnezone on Gavin's side, dealing some good damage as well. A critical hit
and the burn! That's huge!
Magnezone and Porygon 2 now don't have that much time left in this game. The Magnezone will go down to an Ice Beam from Gavin's Porygon 2, but with that burn now, Magnezone versus Porygon 2 and a Gastrodon on Ashen's side with the Drampa in the back. A Drampa may be the slowest thing in Trick Room, I believe.
This is big, though, because Trick Room goes back to normal. So if Ashen's Porygon is faster now, if it can get off a recover and just survive this turn, that could be really big. Although it's going to be tough because Gavin's Porygon also has a special attack boost. So if Gavin doubles up into that slot, Porygon may not be able to take that.
Yeah, have to worry about that Magnezone as well. Could potentially be faster than the Porygon 2 outside of Trick Room. I'm not sure. I can't quite recall if we've seen that particular matchup just yet. It looks like it is faster. Gavin's Magnezone faster than the Porygon 2, able to get that Thunderbolt off and get the KO. So Porygon 2 is down, not able to get the recover off. Gastrodon going for the Scald onto Magnezone will pick up that KO here. If this Porygon 2 went for a Trick Room, that will give Drampa, yes, it does go for the Trick Room. Drampa in the back will now have one free turn to spend with that Gastrodon.
Yep, and we already know Energy Ball is a knockout from this point. Light Screen is no longer up, so there's no hope of Gastrodon surviving that Energy Ball. So Gavin is in great shape right here to take this match.
And here comes Drampa, the MVP of Gavin's team for these two games, I would have to say, getting so many knockouts, dealing so much damage, and having such bizarre coverage.
Yeah, it's been so bulky, too. We've seen just these Ice Beams not do nearly enough to it to be able to take it out. Ashen just not having that offensive pressure needed to take out this Drampa. Just Energy Balls and Dracos just taking out everything.
Yeah, and that Energy Ball will seal it. Gavin Michaels defeats Ashen Meta in 2 games and advances to the top 4. Really impressive set, especially that second game was so much fun. So many different turns of Trick Room, so much positioning going around.
Yep.
Especially positioning to try and get a Pokemon like Drampa that we don't see that much of into a sweeping position. I mean, those type of niche Pokemon, they're very powerful if you build a team around them and if you know how to position them for success, and it's clear that Gavin knew what he was doing.
Yeah, which he did. He focused on a lot of the Pokemon other than Gastrodon first with the Draco Meteor, and then after he...
On Mitchell's side of the field, we have that Tapu Bulu, who on paper has a pretty strong matchup against that Golduck, a decent matchup against the Pelipper, provided that Aaron doesn't have a move like Hurricane on it. So certainly going to be interesting. Tapu Koko, I think, is going to be very important for both of these trainers, and it might come down to something as simple as who gets the knockout on the opposing Tapu Koko first.
I mean, if you look at the composition, you have a grass type in Tapu Bulu, you have the electric type in Tapu Koko. Pelipper and Golduck are similar. Of course, it differs in terms of Porygon 2 and Muk. Those are a lot bulkier Pokemon, whereas Aaron Zhang has Metagross and he has the Tapu Lele. A bit more of an offensive option, a lot faster of an offensive option too, so a bit more hyper-offensive, while Mitchell can kind of take advantage of a slower format.
Yeah, Aaron also has that Kartana sitting in his party, which I don't know if we'll see at Game 1. I feel like it's a very strong Pokemon in this matchup, but Aaron might not want to reveal it quite yet. He might try and squeak by a win Game 1 just based off of, strong plays and strong predictions alone, and rely on Kartana for sort of a surprise factor later on. It really depends on how he decides to play. I believe when we had him on stream yesterday, we saw the Metagross and Tapu Lele combo. I think that's something that he's very comfortable with as a trainer. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that just as an attempt to use something that, maybe is a little bit more predictable than some of his other Pokemon, but will allow him to gather a lot of information on Mitchell moving forward in this match.
And it looks like both players now are getting ready to get underway between the two. Here we are, top 8 at the 2017 Regional Championships here in San Jose, California. Give it up for both players as Aaron going to go ahead and lead with Golduck and Pelipper, the very standard lead of Rain, whereas Mitchell changes it up a little bit, goes for a Tapu Koko and a Porygon 2. Kind of better leads for Mitchell at this position.
Definitely, that electric surge will set up the electric terrain and boost Tapu Koko's electric type attacks. If it has something like a discharge, that would be amazing here. If it has really any electric attack that can target that Golduck, it will also be pretty great. Golduck should move first thanks to its Swift Swim ability, but I'm not sure if there's really much it can do to knock out Tapu Koko given the fact that it doesn't have much of a type advantage against it.
Yeah, and one thing that Mitchell might want to try to do is set up Trick Room here.
Yeah, he brought out the Porygon 2. I think he probably maybe is thinking about a Trick Room approach. It would be an interesting pick. It would certainly punish Aaron for bringing that Golduck and relying on Swift Swim, but the rest of their Pokemon almost seem like they're sort of around the same speed. So if Mitchell has maybe like a surprise Pokemon that's really slow, that might be great here, but we'll just have to see how this plays out.
And Aaron now going to switch out the Pelipper, switching in the Metagross right now, going to try to take advantage. All right, we're going to go ahead and see the Hydro Vortex come out from Aaron's side right now. The Golduck with the Swift Swim in the rain. A very powerful Z move coming out as Golduck is going to go ahead and unleash his full force Z move with the Hydro Vortex. Look at Golduck letting loose all that water, bringing down Tapu Koko, and should be able to pick up the KO, barring a Focus Sash. Oh, that Vortex, that's such a powerful whirlpool right there. Does pick up the KO on Tapu Koko, and now Porygon 2 is able to use Trick Room though.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Mitchell, he had to sacrifice that Tapu Koko in order to get that Trick Room up. It's all going to come down to, I guess, what Mitchell's going to send in next. I'm assuming he has a strategy here, given the fact that he did set up the Trick Room. We do see the Muck, who, that knockoff's going to deal a lot of damage to that Metagross. It is part Psychic, which is certainly very interesting. That Golduck is going to move last thanks to the fact that Rain is still on the field, so Porygon might be able to target it if it's carrying an electric type move. That would be great here, but I don't think Mitchell is carrying that kind of tech, so I don't know. It's very interesting. A lot is going to come down to, again, how these trainers have trained their Pokemon in terms of speed, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some surprises here from Aaron. I mean, he brought that Metagross for a reason, so maybe that's his counter to the Trick Room.
Yeah, and Muck does threaten Metagross with a knockoff. That's a very big possibility as well.
Yeah, it's a very big possibility. I know that usually when Metagross is in a format like this without, the support of a Mega Stone, you might see it run something like Life Orb or Choice Band or just something to really boost its power. And there it is, the Choice Band. So that Meteor Mash is just not going to be as powerful now.
So the Meteor Mash does connect onto Muck as Golduck does get to go for a Hydro Pump right now, connecting onto Muck in the rain. Going to do a lot of damage right there. And Muck hangs on with one hit point. Going to go ahead and activate its Figgy Berry, I believe. Going to be able to heal back. Yep, 50% of its health right there. So Gluttony Muck on the field. Porygon 2 did get to do some damage to that Golduck with a Tri-Attack, though.
Yeah, so that was a lot of damage for a Tri-Attack from that Porygon 2. It looks like it might even be able to knock out that Golduck this turn. And even though Muck won't be able to deal as much damage to that Metagross now that it's no longer holding its Choice Band, it's going to be a really close call in terms of that damage. We might be looking at a double knockout here on Mitchell's side of the field, unless Aaron decides to do something to maybe try and stall out more of this Trick Room. But knowing that Metagross was carrying that Choice Band, I doubt it's holding anything like, a Protect, and it's not like a Bullet Punch would really be much help here either. So Aaron's best option might actually be to switch the Metagross out, maybe try and stall out the Trick Room with one of the other Pokemon he has in the back, and then bring Metagross back in once the Twisted Dimensions have returned to normal.
Decides to just stay in the Porygon 2 now. Gets the Tri-Attack onto the Golduck with the critical hit. That was going to be close anyways, but the critical hit ensures that the Golduck does get knocked off, and Muck now goes for a knockoff. Is it going to be enough to pick up the KO? It is enough to pick up the KO, and now Mitchell Davies brings it down to a 3-2 advantage in his favor.
Yeah, looking at Aaron right now, he looks like he's not too happy about what's going on. It's possible that maybe he wasn't expecting to see that Trick Room at all from Mitchell. So a great read from Team Preview, really using it to his advantage, allowing him to gain a clear advantage here. And even though Aaron still has that Kartana in the back, I don't think it'll be enough to save him at this point, unless he has something really secret up his sleeve, or unless he's able to somehow stall out the next few turns of Trick Room and then start, really dealing a lot of damage to what's left on the field.
Yeah, and Kartana it's a pretty fast Pokemon. Again, Porygon 2 though, it can hit Kartana neutral with that, or sorry, not neutral, but Kartana has weak special defenses. Maybe it's boosted by an Assault Vest, but the Tri-Attack is not very effective, but it does have a special attack boost though.
Yeah, it has that special attack boost, and we will see a chance for it to get a burn, or maybe a paralysis, or even a freeze at this point. We don't see that though.
And we do see Mitchell go ahead and double up into that Pelipper, goes ahead and picks up the KO on that Pelipper. Now one more Pokemon on Aaron's side as the Kartana goes for a Sacred Sword connecting onto that Porygon 2. Doesn't even do 50% of its health, which is always unfortunate to see on a Porygon 2 because that just means that Porygon 2 can recover.
Yeah, so great information for Mitchell going into Game 2. We saw the Pelipper's holding a Focus Sash, which will definitely be important to remember moving forward. And we know that Kartana is carrying that Sacred Sword attack, which will deal, a lot of damage to that Porygon 2 when you consider just how bulky it is in comparison to every other Pokemon in this metagame right now. So Mitchell really doing a great job there, not only making those reads during Team Preview, but getting great information for him moving forward. And it's really up to Aaron here to adjust and, I don't know, maybe even try to lead something that'll stop that Trick Room, because if he just lets Mitchell use his Porygon 2 to get it set up again, we might see another quick, 3, 4, 5 turn game that's not in Aaron's favor.
Yeah, and Aaron Zhang right there forfeited that match, and Mitchell takes Game 1 here of this set. Best 2 out of 3. Mitchell needs one more to move on to the top 4. Aaron Zhang now back against the wall. Tournament life on the line here. Has to make some good adjustments and not allow Mitchell to be able to set up Trick Room and have that speed control that he wants.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody can make the adjustments here that are needed to bring this to a Game 3, I think it's Aaron Zhang. He's a very accomplished player. He's familiar with this pressure. He's certainly been here before. So, he just needs to remember to stay calm and sort of think about what he can do this game to bring things back in his advantage. Probably not lead that Pelipper Golduck combo, maybe not even bring it at all. Tapu Lele Metagross would be great here to get both that Psychic Terrain boost for any of Metagross' attack. Obviously, Metagross is a Steel-type Pokemon. It could certainly threaten that Tapu Koko or even Tapu Bulu if that's what Mitchell decides to bring in this game. It's all about how he adjusts here, and as you can see, Mitchell seems pretty confident in his approach, while Aaron's really taking his time to sort of figure things out and sort of decide what kind of approach he wants to take to stop that Trick Room. Or maybe even stop the Pelipper Golduck. One thing that I've seen trainers do before when they run these teams that have both a fast rain mode and a Trick Room mode is to Game 1 bring one of them, and then Game 2 bring the complete opposite, so you try and catch your opponent completely off guard.
It's a tough call for Aaron to make. I mean, in this situation, we weren't even able to see the last Pokemon in Mitchell's side. So Aaron, in the back of his head, also has to kind of account for what was that last Pokemon that Mitchell brought. I don't know, but I need to do something to fix this right now.
Yeah, I think that is something that he should keep in mind. But at first, he needs to decide how he's going to approach this from strictly a speed point of view. Because if he can't do damage to the Pokemon on Mitchell's side of the field, then, again, he just won't see that. But it looks like Mitchell's sticking with a similar approach to what we saw last game.
And Aaron, of course, changes it up with the Tapu Lele and the Metagross. Mitchell leading with the Tapu Koko and the Porygon 2. It looks like Tapu Lele is going to be able to get the battle or the terrain to be weird, thanks to the Psychic Surge and Tapu Lele being naturally slower. That is going to boost Metagross' attack, so as we do see Porygon 2 now download a special attack boost, so that's huge right there for Mitchell.
Yeah, definitely. Now that Porygon 2 will be able to start not necessarily threatening Metagross or Tapu Lele, but certainly deal enough chip damage to if Mitchell were to switch that Tapu Koko out or possibly bring possibly just use that Thunderbolt anyways to maybe get a surprise knockout here. We haven't seen Tapu Koko matched up against this Metagross or this Tapu Lele. I think what I'm more curious to see is whether or not Aaron decides to sort of go big here, maybe use a Psychic attack, possibly even a Psychic Z move from that Tapu Lele to target one of these Pokemon and rely on Metagross's Meteor Mash to possibly knock out that Tapu Koko, or if we'll see him play a little bit more conservative. You know, Meteor Mash is one of those moves that when it can miss, it will miss, so you have to be very safe in terms of how to use it and whether or not you can take that risk.
And Tapu Lele now protecting itself as the Tapu Koko goes for a Thunder straight into that slot, as Metagross now goes for an Earthquake. Choice Band Earthquake gonna hit this Tapu Koko, gonna do a lot of damage. Is it gonna be enough to pick up the one-hit KO? It is enough to pick up the one-hit KO, as Porygon 2 takes some damage right there, and now Porygon 2 does get free access to go for a Trick Room, and it does.
Yeah, but I think that knockout on the Tapu Koko was what Aaron wanted there. The Trick Room is unfortunate, but judging by the fact that he brought both the Tapu Lele and the Metagross to this match, I think he's more prepared for it, at least mentally. We do see the Tapu Bulu come out, so Aaron's really going to want to stop using Earthquake because that grassy terrain will weaken its power. So we're probably not going to see Metagross stick around this turn, but I think Metagross is in a great position overall in this game, and as long as Aaron can keep dealing some sort of damage while he waits for the perfect opportunity for Metagross to return to the field and start using that Choice Band once again, maybe with that Meteor Mash to target that Tapu Bulu, for example, I think he'll be in a good spot. So definitely great adjustments from Aaron here.
Yeah, and you know, if Metagross switches out, Tapu Lele does, I believe, carry the Psyche MZ to go for a Shattered Psyche. You have to be careful though, because Tapu Bulu, I believe, has shown Substitute. And if not, you know, a lot of Tapu Bulu do carry Substitute, as we do see Metagross now withdraw, not going to want to stay in, as Pelipper comes out and is going to go ahead and bring the rain, risking the breaking of the Focus Sash though, which might be a bit risky, but also at the same time, maybe Pelipper just isn't that great in this matchup, although it can Hurricane that Tapu Bulu. Try attack now from Porygon 2, going to connect on that Pelipper, going to go ahead and bring it down to about 40% as Woodhammer comes out and connects onto the Tapu Lele, going to do a lot of damage and picks up the one-hit KO. Big, massive damage right there from that Tapu Bulu, and it just shows that Tapu Bulu is here to defeat all other Tapus.
Yeah, you know, that Tapu Bulu's Woodhammer was so strong, I can't help but wonder maybe it's holding like an item such as Expert Belt or that Miracle Seed item to boost its grass-type attacks. Definitely a great play from Mitchell there. He needed to sort of knock out that Tapu Lele before it could start maybe using that Z move to try and even the player field. I think without that Psychic Terrain, it probably wouldn't have gotten a knockout on any of the Pokemon on Mitchell's side of the field, but you know, on the other hand, Aaron did just get his Metagross back on the field, essentially for free. It did not take any damage in on the switch. We know it has, you know, that Choice Band, and now it can just pick whatever attack it wants. It's not locked into Earthquake anymore. Tapu Bulu probably isn't really happy about that, so we'll have to see. This might be the perfect opportunity for it to set up that substitute.
You can always try to set up substitutes and maybe hope for a Meteor miss here. Tapu Bulu, instead of trying to set up a substitute, switches out, going to go into Muck right now. Going to try to take this Meteor Mash as well as it can, as Pelipper does protect itself. Doesn't want to get knocked out just yet. Maybe save itself for a Hurricane later on, as Porygon 2 goes for a Tri-Attack into that Pelipper Protect, as Metagross does connect on the Meteor Mash right here. Gonna connect onto that Muck and do a lot of damage right there. Gonna go ahead and activate the Figgy Berry thanks to the Gluttony ability. Heal back 50% of its health that it just lost. And no boost right there from the Meteor Mash onto the Metagross.
Yeah, great play by Aaron there. You know, he needed to try and knock out that Tapu Bulu for him to sort of maintain the advantage here. That Meteor Mash is super powerful, but Mitchell, I mean, that was a really lucky switch. I think it was great that Muck survived that. It is kind of a bulky Pokemon, so I guess that would be expected. He needs it in against this Metagross to, again, use that knock off to both get rid of that Choice Band on the Metagross, but to also start threatening things under Trick Room. That, I don't know, I keep trying to play through my head what Aaron can do to turn this around, but I think if he wants to have a chance at sort of regaining the advantage here, because I think sending that Muck in right now just sort of put things back in Mitchell's favor in terms of the board positioning. He needs to stall out this Trick Room. I'm not sure if switching Pelipper out will help him do that, though.
We do see Tapu Koko bringing the electric terrain with the electric surge right now. Gonna try to get rid of the healing abilities of that grassy terrain that Porygon 2 and Muck love so much. Tri-attack now connects onto Metagross, does a lot of damage. Is Muck gonna go for the knockoff? Gonna go for the knockoff. Is it gonna be enough to pick up the KO? It is not. Metagross hangs on, does lose a lot of offensive output though, as now Metagross goes for a Meteor Mash onto that Muck, doing a good amount of damage. No attack boost there. That would have been nice, but at the same time, right now, you know, they need a solid Trick Room.
Yeah, he needs to stall out Trick Room. We know that Metagross doesn't have Protect, again, because of that Choice Band. So Aaron could switch here, but sending that Pelipper in wouldn't be a great option either. Really, I believe this is the last turn of Trick Room, so Tapu Koko can Protect, maybe just let Metagross, if it has something like Bullet Punch, use it to try and get some damage on that Muck, and then leave it to Pelipper and Tapu Koko once Trick Room is up to start dealing damage. But I don't know, Porygon is almost at full health here. Unless Aaron can stop that Porygon from getting a second Trick Room up, I think this game is going to go to Mitchell, but we'll have to see. We've certainly seen some upsets today, and we've seen a lot of instances where Pokemon have just held on until the last possible moment trying to win for their trainers. So we'll see what happens here.
Tapu Koko does protect itself. Metagross stays in. Gonna go for a Bullet Punch right now. Gonna see if it can maybe get a critical hit and just get some damage out as soon as possible. Ooh! Muck hangs on. Needed that critical hit right there as Porygon 2 connects onto that Tri-Attack onto the Metagross, and it's gonna be Tapu Koko and Pelipper left versus the rest of Mitchell's team of Muck, Porygon 2, and the Tapu Bulu.
Yeah, the good news here is that Muck does have only 15 health points left. We know that Tapu Bulu's in the back. This would be a great opportunity for Mitchell to switch Muck out and set up that grassy terrain so that when it returns, it'll start regaining more of its health. But at the same time, that would basically leave... I think Aaron's only option here is to try and double target that Porygon 2. Try and knock it out before it gets Trick Room up. So if I were Mitchell, I would almost say, let's risk keeping Muck on the field, try and get a surprise knockout on Tapu Koko, so that way whatever is left at the end of this turn can knock out the Pelipper, but it looks like that Tapu Koko has some surprises of its own.
Gonna go for a Hidden Power right now, does pick up the KO on the Muck, does reveal the Life Orb as Pelipper goes for a Hurricane right here, maybe a Confusion that Porygon 2 can get. Nope, Porygon 2 is able to set up a Trick Room instead, and that might actually, well, I mean, I'm not going to say it's over, but that puts the position favorably in Mitchell's side.
Yeah, it's going to be close. We saw that Tapu Bulu deal so much damage with the grassy terrain and potentially, you know, Miracle Seed boosted Wood Hammer earlier on in this game. That certainly is a continued threat now that Tapu Koko really... I don't know, as long as Mitchell is able to target the Tapu Koko with Wood Hammer, Horn Leech, really anything, because it is not that bulky of a Pokemon, it should be easy for Mitchell to get the 2-0 win here, but Tapu Koko protecting, so great move by Aaron, just trying to hold on to, you know, his win conditions for as long as he can.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Porygon 2 does target down the Pelipper and picks up the one-hit, or sorry, not the one-hit KO, but picks up the KO there, as Tapu Bulu now goes for a Wood Hammer into that Tapu Koko slot, and that should do it. Tapu Bulu's Wood Hammer does so much damage, I'm pretty sure this Tapu Koko can't make this comeback.
Yeah, a really well-built team by Mitchell, you know, having both the option for a fast mode with that Golduck Pelipper combo, but being able to punish Aaron's sort of fast mode team with the Porygon 2 and the Trick Room. Just goes to show you how if you're not prepared for a move like Trick Room, then it can just completely sweep your team, which is what we saw here. Aaron really tried to sort of maintain the advantage, but he needed an early knockout on that Porygon 2 in order to make a difference here, and it looks like Mitchell going for the Toxic just to secure that this Tapu Koko will get knocked out eventually if Wood Hammer doesn't do it now.
And we do see the Wood Hammer come out. Is it enough to pick up the KO? It is enough to pick up the KO on Tapu Koko, and that does it here for this set. Mitchell Davies wins the set 2-0 over Aaron Zhang and moves on to the top 4.
Yeah, incredibly well played by Mitchell. Again, I think it came down to a lot of his team composition, being able to identify the advantages he had during the team preview, and Aaron just couldn't adjust, which is unfortunate, but when you're at a tournament like this, a lot of it comes down to matchups. I don't think we saw that as much last year because people kept running, you know, very similar teams, so you really only had maybe 4 or 5, 6 matchups you had to worry about throughout the course of a tournament, but now that there's so many